Good morning. I'm Laura, and I'm here in my little backyard on Mexico's Yucatán Peninsula, where magic runs through every part of daily life. And this is another episode of Walk Between Worlds. Today, I want to tell you about a magical being called a Tsip. You can spell that S-I-P or T apostrophe S-I-P. And this was told to me by Don Francisco, my good friend, who hunts for a living, and he, not for a living, but for food for his family. And they need to make sacrifices to the Tsip in order for them to be able to get a deer for their family. So the Tsip is the king of all the deer, and is tiny. It's only about this big, and it has huge horns on its head, and in between the horns it has a wasp nest. And the wasps that live in there are super poisonous and will kill you if they sting you. Now, I didn't make this up. This is coming to me from Don Francisco. He was the last healer in his village in a small town in Yucatán. He has since passed away. And of course we miss him. So one day I was at his house and I went into the kitchen, and there were a bunch of deer skeletons. They're not very big because the deer here are small. They're kind of the size of a large dog. The skeletons were maybe like this size. And they were hanging in a little bag on the kitchen wall. And I asked Angela, Francisco's wife, if it was okay if I took a picture of them. And I could tell immediately by her reaction that it was not okay. So one of the things about the Maya culture is that they really are not going to tell you yes or no. You have to take a lot of cues from what they're not saying, from their body language and from the hesitation. And so immediately I followed that up with, or are these something special and I should not take a picture? And then she agreed that was correct. I should not take a picture. So I found out later that Francisco, he was hunting for deer, and these skeletons, or just the skulls, were kept from the different deer that he had killed. And it was very important to honor them in order to be able to continue to hunt for deer. So what he said was that they would go into the jungle and bring a candle, like the one I just lit here. And they would pray to the Tsip and then light the candle. And in this case, the offering that they left was just the flame from the candle. And then they would watch the candle, and they would see how the flame bent or blew in the wind. And you can see my candle might actually blow out on me because it's blowing quite a lot in the wind. Now it's steady. And they could tell from the direction that the candle was blowing or the movement of the flame whether or not the Tsip was giving them permission to hunt for deer. And if they were not given permission to hunt for deer, then it was absolutely imperative that they not hunt for deer. The understanding was that when you ask permission for hunting deer, then the Tsip would speak to the deer and ask the deer if one of them was willing to sacrifice its life so that the family could eat. And the only deer, and oh, my candle almost went out as I said that. It came back on. Oh my gosh, got so close to going out. The only deer that you were allowed to hunt was the specific one that agreed to give its life. and it would actually come to you. So you didn't have to do a lot of traipsing through the forest. And there, my candle just blew out. I'm gonna light it again. You wouldn't have to do a lot of traipsing through the forest or the jungle in order to find a deer, because, well, I think maybe we're not allowed to hunt deer today. Because the deer that agreed to give his life, he would come to you. And that would be the only one that you would be allowed to take his life. And I guess we're not going to get any more candles today. So, I think it's really interesting how there is this connection between nature and people, and this respect, and the idea that this deer is actually intentionally sacrificing his life so that the family could eat. And you're not to take any other deer, because if you did, you would end up getting very sick, probably with a very high fever, and die within 24 hours. And there was nothing that could be done about it, because you had killed an animal that you were not allowed to kill. And that would be how the Tsip would defend its territory. And the wind has gone down. So I'm going to try this one more time. There we go. Anyway, that's the story of the Tsip. And this is Walk Between Worlds. Until next time, hugs and butterflies.